Hello, I'm Trudy Layton and I'm the Associate Director of the Health and Wellbeing Centre, and I'm here today with our Chief Exec, Declan Carroll. And I'd like to welcome you to this year's exhibition from the Catching the Light Photography Group, which is a photography group which belongs to North London Hospice. In 2017, we held a co-productive meeting to look at how we could use photography in a hospice setting. And we shared that space with a gentleman who was coming towards the end of his life, but he was using his landscape photographs with our art psychotherapist. And his aim in those photographs was to catch the light. And the group has developed and continues to evolve, driven by its members. They're a diverse group which come together because they are affected by or living with a life-limiting illness. We have some patients, some carers, some bereaved. And we're also lucky to have some volunteers which help support the group, whether that's technically or administratively. The photography group is really important to its members, but it's also important to the Health and Wellbeing Centre because it epitomises the philosophy that we strive for. It gives purpose, meaning, value. It offers friendship and connections, achievements, roles, and most of all, it leaves a legacy. I'm now going to hand over to Declan to say a few words.
Welcome to North London Hospice, and I am very privileged to lead and work alongside some of the best professional staff and volunteers that there are in the hospice world. Here at North London Hospice, we're very proud of what we've achieved over 30 plus years of our existence, serving and supporting the communities of Barnet, Enfield and Haringey. COVID-19 and the pandemic has been a challenge for all of us, not just the community we support, but also around the world. But we're proud of the way in which we've responded, we've reacted, and we've recovered from the pressures and from the demands that that's placed on our services. Seeing as many patients and supporting as many people in our community has never been more important than it is now. And we're looking forward to continuing our work as we come out of the pandemic and move forward. Financially, it's been a struggle for North London Hospice this year, but we're grateful for the support that we receive from our community and from the NHS. Moving forward, your support is going to be as important as ever. We are the landmark and the heartbeat of the community of Barnet, Enfield and Haringey, and we wish to maintain that presence and grow and deliver the quality that we're very proud of.
I would like to introduce Fran, a professional photographer who has worked on a number of exhibitions as well as exhibiting himself. Fran, I know you came to our very first exhibition, but what motivated you to curate this year's exhibition for us?
A couple of things, really. First of all, I've been working with these photographers on sort of monthly workshops for the previous almost a year, and I've been very inspired by working with them, not just as friends, but as people who had, most of them had undergone a lot of treatments and faced severe ups and downs, but they'd found a sort of pursuit of photography that really bonded them together and gave them something really interesting to do. And the second thing I would like to mention is the exhibition was impressive for me because of the organisation and the skills and the passion that went into it. And they got a lot of things right in that exhibition, which led me to think, well, what can we do next?
So now we're going to introduce you to some of the photographers and look at some of the photographs they've taken. I'd like to introduce Yvonne, who's been a member of our photography group for a couple of years. Yvonne, I know you've worked hard this year, both creatively and on the technical aspects inherent to wildlife photography. Can you tell me a little bit about the challenges you've had and also where you might take your photography next?
I thought I would take photos of swans for this year's exhibition, but the COVID restrictions made it hard. So I thought on my daily walks with my dog, I would go out with the camera. But the angles I got were boring, and I needed a better lens to get more detail. So it was whilst practicing with that new lens that I took the picture of the geese, and I rather liked it. It was difficult because they were walking towards me quite fast, and the focal length I'd got wasn't good. But I do feel I captured the essence of them walking in the afternoon sun, just strolling along, and it makes me smile.
How did you approach your work on this exhibition?
I asked the photographers to get inspired by a subject or theme of their own choosing, which they could work on to produce pictures, which I could then subsequently make a selection from to form the exhibition. Now, as things turned out, it was all rather more difficult and lengthy in the process. And for example, some people found it difficult to leave their homes for weeks and months. Other people found it hard to get motivated because of more important things to worry about. But at the same time, all the organisation and the meetings and so forth continued, and eventually the work emerged strongly, I think, and I was able to put together the current selection.
Now I'm going to introduce you to AJ, another one of our photographers. AJ, I know you have a love of buildings and they could be seen as your markers for your working life in London. Can you tell us a little bit more about this photograph?
Well, indeed they are. I first started work in 1988 at NatWest. And last year I was lucky enough to be able to take this picture from the rooftop of the still iconic NatWest Tower. It features in the background Canary Wharf, which incidentally also started building work in 1988. I like this picture very much, as the Gherkin, in my opinion, is one of London's most unique buildings. If you look carefully, you'll see a man here in a white shirt that appears to have the entire floor of the Gherkin to himself. An odd sight, really, when this building is normally full of life. Last year's pandemic left London feeling a bit like a ghost town. But did have that nice Sunday feeling that I liked, but not half as busy as it was when I first started work. I enjoyed this project, which helped me to continue my love of photographing iconic buildings in London and iconic architecture. I hope that everyone enjoys the exhibition.
This is a diverse collection of pictures. How did you go about making your selection?
Well, I'd had a pretty good idea of the basic design and the way it was going to look, and we discussed this amongst the photographers, and they seemed okay with that. And when they submitted their best examples, photographs, I found it surprisingly easy and intuitive to put that order together. What I wanted to do was to produce a simple display where the themes and ideas were mixed up. There were no captions, and this would allow the viewer to potentially find any connections between those images while also exploring the themes and ideas themselves. And hopefully that's worked.
I'd like to introduce another member of our photography group, Eamon. Eamon, we're standing in front of some of your photographs here, but I know you have another major contribution to the exhibition, and that is actually getting the photographs on the wall. The mounting, the framing, and the hanging configuration. What is it about that aspect of the exhibition that you enjoy?
Well, when I was first asked if the number of photographs, frames, would fit into the area available, I was able to do the necessary calculation and come up with a figure of 22. And from there on, the target was 22 framed photographs, and that's what we have in front of us. And I was able to determine whether we could fit 1 row or 2 rows. And from then on, we were proceeding with no risk. When it came to hanging the frames, I was able to do the necessary hanging using the existing hanging system. And the end result was a very tidy, professional display. The display you see in front of us is as good, I think, as any you'd see in a professional setup. And we're generally very pleased with it. The spacing is not accidental, it's all worked out by calculation. The height and the space and the vertical spacing also. And the net result is a very nice presentation as a whole.
Helen, this is one of your photographs, and I know you've done a brave project during the pandemic of taking individuals out on the street. What was your motivation behind this series of photographs?
Well, I really love taking portraits, and I wanted to take street portraits and capture something of the mood and the feel and the look at the time. And so what I did was I wanted to take people in situ. They were spontaneous shots in a way. They weren't set up, the locations weren't planned. People didn't tart themselves up, I just took them as they were when I found them. That's how I like to work, and it seemed appropriate for this project to kind of capture something about the look and the mood and so on. And then as I was taking more pictures, I became really fascinated by the details in people's wear and their accessories and body language, and like the sort of tucked thumbs and the keys and mobile phone and the makeshift and the borrowed face masks and so on. Yeah, and I got a lot out of it as well, because I think at the time, especially at the beginning of the lockdown, there was some apprehension. Everyone felt a bit nervous going out with face masks, and to make that connection with people, I really got a lot out of that for myself as well.
Thank you for joining us on this virtual exhibition, and I hope you'll share the link with your family and friends. Also keep an eye out on Eventbrite, as we hope to have a live exhibition towards the end of the year. The Catching the Light Photography Group would like me to thank Fran, who curated this exhibition, and for managing to bring a disparate collection of photographs together in a meaningful way. We'd like to thank John for his expertise and volunteering his time and his patience in filming this exhibition. And I personally would like to thank all of the members of the photography group who motivate and inspire.